Yes, folks, the left just love to hide behind children. You may have noticed on Jacinda Ardern media or other mainstream media that the left always insert a child expert to somehow give their agendas some kind of legitimacy. And you may have also noticed that they try to portray themselves as caring people, that they care about children, when that couldn't be further from the truth. Anyway, today I'll start this off with Andrew Boldt.
The disturbing cult of Greta Thunberg. Well, it resumes after the 16-year-old global warming prophet sailed into New York overnight, 2 weeks after leaving England. She straight away resumed the apocalyptic preaching that's given her such a passionate following.
The climate and
Oh, listen to her, folks. She's a real expert.
ecological crisis is a global crisis and the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced. And if we don't manage to work together, to cooperate and to work together despite our differences, then we will fail. So we need to stand together and support each other and to take action.
Seems to have forgotten the Black Plague, the Spanish flu, World War II, so much. Now, we had a break from the Thunberg cult for 2 weeks because she wanted to go from Europe to the United States for a United Nations Global Warming Conference, but refuses to fly in aeroplanes. Bad for global warming. So she took a yacht instead. Zero carbon, she said. But in fact, that was a farce, a bit of theatre, just a bit of theatre, because the yacht owners admitted that now have to fly 2 crew over to the United States from Europe to sail the yacht back again.
And how is she getting back?
Now, although Thunberg has been off the air for 2 weeks, her cult followers have not. For instance, the Northern Beaches Council in Sydney last night voted to declare a climate emergency. Now, it doesn't matter that there's no evidence of any such emergency. The rains still fall. The world's been having record grain crops. People are living longer. Never mind all that. Never mind the science. The cult has spoken. Children have spoken. Because let me quote from a Daily Telegraph report about the Northern Beaches Council vote. It says, schoolgirl Stephanie Evans also spoke.
Oh, another child expert.
And pleaded with councillors to act. A schoolgirl? A schoolgirl tells a council what to do? Yes, indeed, because this is one more part of the Thunberg cult. The young and the inexperienced now know better than the old, than their parents. The report goes on. Councillor Natalie Warren, who introduced the motion, Warren is a Greens zealot, said it was now or never. We only have a few years to radically reduce emissions or face a runaway global climate catastrophe, which includes sea level rises, increased frequency and severity of extreme weather events, mass species extinction even, food insecurity. That, to me, is an emergency. To quote Greta Thunberg, I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. Let me repeat the science to people who seem absolutely dead to it. Contrary to Councillor Warren's scare about, say, climate catastrophes and running out of food, we are in fact getting fewer cyclones, says the Bureau of Meteorology, and world cereal crops have been generally rising over the decade. We're not getting less food, we're getting more. Now, her climate emergency, Thunberg's climate emergency, is nonsense. But that is exactly why green extremists are now hiding behind these children. They don't want this to be a debate about, settled by reason and evidence that, I can then present my science and people say, oh, you're right. They want it to be about passion, about seeming. And so they use passionate children to put the case so that adults are embarrassed or ashamed or reluctant to argue back, to prove these little children wrong.
Exactly. But it's not just about climate. They use children with every agenda they're pushing.
Right now to the big show of support for the little boy who does ballet. Hundreds of men dancing in defiance of a US TV presenter's mockery of Prince George's latest love.
And a New Zealand teen who's heading to London to pursue his ballet dream is standing up as well. Kim Baker-Wilson with more.
Dozens of dancers, mostly men,
Mostly homosexuals.
coming to the defence of boys who love ballet, taking over Times Square, retaliation for these comments about Prince George on American breakfast TV.
The future King of England will be putting down the Play-Doh to take on religious studies, computer programming, poetry, and ballet, among other things.
The laughing and mocking kept going
You couldn't contain how he looked so happy about the ballet class.
and going.
I have news for you, Prince William. We'll see how long that lasts.
It's been almost 2 decades since Billy Elliot. It seems little's changed for how male dancers are treated. As this 14-year-old Kiwi who's played the very character on stage knows all too well.
It did make me feel quite upset, and it did. I almost compared her to some of the kids that would pick on me at school.
And what did they say?
Some of the stereotypes were all ballet dancers are gay and they are soft and puffs and whatever, but I've done soccer, rugby and tennis and swimming. It's probably harder than quite a few of those. It's a struggle sometimes.
There you go, folks. This kid is the expert getting behind the gay agenda. But it doesn't just stop there, folks. Have a look.
Those on the front line say a government program to provide free school lunches doesn't go far enough. Details were unveiled today and the scheme kicks off in 30 schools next year, eventually growing to feed 21,000 children. Political reporter Benedict Collins has more details and reaction.
Chowing down with the Prime Minister.
I like that she's trying to help people.
Oh, so here's the next child expert. So let's just go back a bit and see what she said.
Chowing down with the Prime Minister.
I like that she's trying to help people that don't have enough money to buy food.
Oh, I like her because she's trying to help people that don't have enough money for food. But let's not mention the fact that this is full-on socialism, full-on state control, full-on state dependency, or should I say communism.
The government launching an ambitious plan to feed children across the country.
1 in 5 families in New Zealand don't have what they need to be able to provide quality kai on the table every day. And we know we need to fix that.
We know that well-fed children prosper, their health is better, obesity levels are down, they're better involved in educational outcome is improved. So on every level, in my view, it's the right thing to do.
A prototype of the school lunch program will begin across Rotorua and Hawke's Bay in Term 1 next year, before moving to Otago Southland in Term 2. But the government still has to figure out the logistics of how it's going to go about feeding tens of thousands of kids.
Tens of thousands of kids. That is shocking. Yes, folks, these people care so much for these children that they even want to give them late-term abortions and gender selection abortions.
Be regarded. But back to Victoria, and there are statistics. Abortion is allowed until birth for a range of reasons. Since it was decriminalised in Victoria, late-term abortions have increased by 39%. Abortions for psychosocial reasons have increased by 32%. And between 2009 and 2016, 1,277 babies were aborted for reasons other than the physical health of the mother or the baby. Then you get this horrifying reality of later term abortions, or what's being referred to as medical mistake abortions. This is frightening. Babies are born alive following a quote-unquote termination.
Frightening for sure.
The intention is that they die with no life-saving measures implemented. I understand that in Victoria, between 2008 and 2016, there have been 336 babies who were born alive during an abortion and died after delivery. There is no data as to how long they lived or whether the babies may have lived if brought to term. The New South Wales Bill provides for late-term abortion if two doctors approve an abortion after 22 weeks, but the second doctor doesn't even have to see the patient or look at the file. The second doctor doesn't have to be independent. There's no legal penalty if the two-doctor rule is not observed. So surely a law without a penalty is no law at all. The New South Wales Bill, as I've said, is modelled on the Victorian experience. It allows late-term abortion for virtually any reason: physical, psychological and social reasons. That encompasses almost everything. Does this mean if there's a relationship breakdown, you're entitled to a late-term abortion or a financial challenge? One partner loses his or her job. And then this issue of sex selection. Now, of course, there are those who want to say it doesn't happen. Gender selection abortions. Well, it's true, we don't have statistics. And the New South Wales Bill says, well, let's see what happens in the first 12 months and then we might review it. There are reports today in Sydney's Daily Telegraph that a woman of Indian descent has revealed a shocking culture of aborting female fetuses within the Sikh community. The woman is quoted as saying one of her family members aborted 17 female fetuses before conceiving a boy. She said her own Sikh husband abandoned her and their 4 daughters after she refused to abort her pregnancies. And she said situations like hers are common within the Sikh community.
Yes, and this is exactly what the feminists want. They want gender selection abortions. Yet ironically, the very same people espouse protection for the natural ecosystem. They espouse nature. Now try and figure that out. But at least on the other side of the ditch, one politician is standing up for children.
That's right, Laura. Former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce has been championing the pro-life side of this abortion bill debate. He joined thousands at that rally last night, urging the government not to push the reproductive healthcare reform bill through Parliament.
It was a person. It was a person's heart bleeding. And that person has rights. That person does not deserve to die in the corner of a room if it's born alive. It deserves to be saved. It deserves to be fought for. It deserves to be loved.
Yes, what a great impassioned speech. But sadly, folks, we're hearing nothing like that in New Zealand.